some fragrances or some of the products which we use, like nowadays girls are very conscious about their appearance and they tend to use fragrances or cosmetics. They have something called as endocrine disturbing chemicals.
Parents' responsibility, I think, to just inculcate better living habits. So whether the children obviously should not be going on a diet, but if the parents are eating, making the healthier choice,
Right.
that's what the child is going to see.
See, Dr. Mansi, is there anything that we can do for mental health during the PMS phase?
Yes, there is. But let me first explain a little bit about what really happens and why it is harmful when we don't do anything about it.
Okay.
Okay.
And now she is at that transition in her life where, her reproductive capability is slowly reducing and she is transitioning into a woman who is no longer going to have her periods, first to start with. And then her ovaries are going to stop producing any hormones. And then she's going to reach at a stage where it is called as menopause, where there are no periods for consecutive 12 months. That is when we actually label the woman as menopause.
Absolutely.
Namaskar. Welcome to the Meeting Point podcast. So, this is a special episode for us because we have invited a panel of doctors to discuss on subjects which many women hesitate to talk about. We are talking on subjects related to puberty, menarche, all the way to menopause. Okay. And to discuss this, we have invited three doctors. One is Dr. Manasi Bharverkar. She has come before also and done a podcast with us. Dr. Mansi specializes in cardiopulmonary physiotherapy and she's also extensively worked with in the field of mental health. Then we have Dr. Prajakta Chhabra. She is a practicing gynecologist. And we have Dr. Richa Kavde, who is a physiotherapist but specializing in sports medicine. So we have a nice mix of doctors where we're going to talk about the subjects ranging from mental health all the way to what needs to be done in case if you experience certain issues, which we are discussing in the podcast. I'm going to leave it all open for you to watch and really learn from this episode and see if you can get some solutions out of this. So let's begin with the topic on menarche, puberty, as usually everyone will understand it as. So my first question to Dr. Prajakta is, what is menarche?
Yeah, so menarche essentially is the beginning of menstruation, or
Okay.
when the girl gets her first menstrual period. That is
Okay.
actually defined as menarche. Yeah.
All right.
Whereas puberty is essentially a process in which, a lot of hormonal and physical changes are occurring in the bodies of the girls as they are navigating through the changes. That is actually puberty. So it's a
Okay.
process.
Okay. And puberty is addressed for both boys and girls?
It is addressed for boys as well as girls. Girls hit puberty between the ages of, say, 9 to 12, and
Okay.
similar for the boys as well.
Okay.
And girls usually have a tendency to show the changes in the physical form much earlier than the boys.
Okay. Okay. And is it changing now?
Yes, the trend towards early puberty is becoming very common. I see in my practice that there are many girls who are coming with early puberty changes.
Okay.
And like their mothers are so anxious about it that they're growing much faster than their peers. And it's quite a concerning matter.
Wow. And can this be addressed by any chance? Can we control something which is happening inside the body?
Yes, if you actually look at the causes of the early puberty, or as we can call as precocious puberty in medical terminology,
Yeah.
it's because of many things which are happening around us. First and foremost is the fast food or the increased amount of animal protein and animal fat which the children are consuming. And another thing is the sweetened beverages, the colas or the sodas or the SSBs as we call it.
Okay.
They all tend to have an increased insulin spike in the body. And that leads to a lot of changes in the physical way the child is growing. Yeah, that's one of the very important causes.
So,
Second is, I feel the environmental causes are there to blame. Certain amounts of like some fragrances or some of the products which we use, like nowadays, girls are very conscious about their appearance and they tend to use fragrances or cosmetics. They have something called as endocrine disturbing chemicals.
Oh, you mean all the deos and
Many of them, but a lot of them, they do have these EDCs which tend to interfere with the normal hormones in the body, and they can also cause problems with early puberty. Yeah, they do.
wow, very difficult to pinpoint on
difficult.
one specific cause, no?
Yeah.
Including antibiotics and hormones which are fed to animals which we eat.
Which we eat to the meat.
The animals have the hormones because they are given those hormones so that they will grow bigger and faster. And those hormones are then consumed by us. So it's not just children, the same hormones can cause all sorts of problems even for grown-ups.
Grown-ups, yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Does also the visual media affect?
Yeah, that is also definitely.
Visual media effects.
So a lot of these girls, they watch these YouTube videos, they're watching shows on Netflix, which is all about romance, and they have free access to all of that now. So that is known to affect it too, right?
That's the brain.
The brain, actually.
Wow. Okay. So it's just not one thing.
No.
God. So if a parent has to go to a doctor, my God, the parent is going to be completely baffled. Kis pe kaam kare?
That's why the parents have to be honest about what their child is doing when they go to the doctor. Because sometimes parents try to cover up their own, some faux pas that happen, and that happens to all of us. So they try to cover it up, but that is not benefiting the child and even them in the long run. So be honest when you go to your doctor.
Wow. And are there any treatments for this issue? If early puberty or...
Puberty, see, when we actually look at early puberty, the medical causes, right? There are many medical causes for central early puberty or central precocious puberty. Because there are a lot of things which are happening at the level of the brain, which we need to address. And there are many tests for that. But I think that is like beyond the scope of this discussion. So let's concentrate on early puberty because of other causes, like we just pinpointed, that first is the fast food and the food habits which we need to change in children. One.
Right.
Second is the sweetened beverages or the colas, which are so readily available. I mean, you can just pick up a bottle, like a very small, tiny bottle, which is full of these things, which is extremely tasty for a child. But it is full of those sweetened things which are going to cause a lot of problems later.
Yeah.
And it's also like the cool thing to do now, right? So they don't drink water anymore. The cool thing to do is
To have a soda.
right.
And even if they pick up a bottle of water, we get these flavored waters. So those have such hidden sugars that you.
Yeah.
I mean,
And at that age, I guess you're not paying attention to the fine print.
Not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
You're looking at the taste bud.
Yes, exactly. So the
Yeah.
taste is the thing, which is because somebody, a friend might just say that, oh, you know what, I tasted this and this is like really nice. It's cool. You should try it.
And not only taste buds, they're looking at how it looks in their hand too. Because they have to take pictures now, right?
Then a
Yeah.
such thing. So what has happened to the brain in this phase?
So
Like, how are the hormones impacting the brain?
right. So let's talk first about menarche. So when menarche is the beginning, the very beginning, and as Dr. Prajakta mentioned, puberty is the process. Okay. So at the very beginning of menarche, we have many hormones in our body, especially women, even the men. The boys also have them, but the boys it's much more controlled. In our bodies, the hormones function like a great symphony. Everything is really smooth. One goes up, the other goes down. Then the other one goes up, one goes down. So it's a very beautiful symphony that's happening in our body.
Okay.
At menarche, that's the time when suddenly the hormone estrogen suddenly goes up. It shoots up a lot more, and that is what announces that menarche has started. Okay. Dr. Prajakta mentioned what happens to the body. In the brain, this particular estrogen has a huge effect. It almost marinates a girl's brain completely.
Really?
Okay. So let's just see this a little bit from the girl's perspective. Let's say you're a little girl. Estrogen is marinating your brain so much right now that it is creating amazing number of paths. It's called synaptogenesis. Okay. So it's creating amazing number of paths between your middle part of the brain, which is called the hippocampus, or in layman terms, it's called the old brain.
Okay.
And your other cortexes, which is the brain around it, especially the prefrontal cortex. So the part that is here, right behind our foreheads, is the prefrontal cortex. Amazing number of paths are getting formed at a very rapid rate in this particular period. Okay, this is the reason why the girls have mood swings. The girls feel heightened emotions. The girl feel heightened anger, passion. All of it is happening together, and they also tend to go into like a sensory overload very quickly because so much information is coming into their brain that they don't know how to process it. And that's when the crying happens, the meltdown happens, the temper tantrum happens, the doors get banged. So everybody's gone through it. So in fact, I have one child who is in this phase, and we have told him one more banging of the door and we're going to remove the door from the room. Okay. So it is not really their fault. They themselves are not understanding what is happening to their brain. It's important that as a parent, you understand yourself what is happening in the brain and you educate them. Okay, so the technique I have used with my children is the old brain and the new brain. These are not medical terms. This is just my way of explaining to them. So when you have the old brain, which is the hippocampal part, old brain is what is causing, what is helping you survive. Okay. Let's say suddenly a dog comes running at you. You're not going to stand there. You're going to either run or you're going to fight. Okay, so that is your old brain taking over. All right. So even in this case, the old brain is all about survival. So even at that time, when they are having a temper tantrum, when they're like 6, 7, 8, it's the old brain asking them, you just get what you want. You know, there is no logic, there is no reasoning, none of that. So you will throw a temper tantrum, you will fall flat on the floor and cry. It really doesn't matter to the child. It's the parent who gets embarrassed or angry. Child को कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है because they're loving it. They're doing what the body is asking them to do, you know, and that's instinctive for them.
Okay.
During menarche and even the entire process of puberty, all the connections that form between the old brain and the new brain, there is a prefrontal cortex. This is where our intelligence is. Okay, all of this is forming. So you have to teach the children that listen to your intelligence. It's developing very fast now. So learn to listen to it. Okay. If you teach the children this method of understanding themselves, I think a lot of road rage, drug use, excessive sexual drives also in young girls. Premarital.
I was going to tell about that. I have seen many. I'm sorry, I'm cutting.
No. Go ahead.
Many mothers coming and saying this, that she wants to look like a woman. And she wants to, so that the sudden sexual urge or that sensitivity to a certain thing, because they are so conscious about their bodies growing. And this matter particularly about the sudden urge of this, and they see themselves physically maturing into a woman, is one of the reasons why we say that early puberty is quite dangerous. Because, they are just growing physically, but their minds or mentally, as Dr. Mansi is saying, it is at that phase they are still getting there and not yet there. But they themselves feel that, oh, I'm a woman now. And that is extremely
And
dangerous.
that also leads to a lot of unsafe behavior. So whether it is while riding a bike or driving a car, or they don't understand the consequences of what is going to happen. They do it and think that they're invincible. So nothing is going to go wrong. Like, I'm going to get out of this. But obviously that could not be the case. So they need to be taught that. What Mansi was saying about the whole brain, the survival part of it and the intelligence part of it, if you mix it, that is where
It has to be taught.
you think of what you want. Yes, this is what I want. But that's what the consequence is going to be. So what is the mid path that I'm going to choose? That hasn't happened. That connection hasn't.
And most of the parents don't talk to their children about this part.
Yeah.
They don't. So that's why the children do not understand how to regulate themselves. So this is, it's called self-regulation. It is a practiced habit and it takes time. Okay. In boys, puberty takes a little bit longer. In girls, by the time they are 21, 22, maximum 25, I think.
23 actually to be the cutoff.
23 roughly. So it depends it's different for different women, obviously,
Okay.
But that is the cutoff point generally. So that's when they really learn to use their old brain, new brain, intelligence. And finally, the hormones have started to regulate a little bit. So they're slightly sorted.
Stabilized.
Yeah, they're slightly stabilized.
Sorted is the word. There's no more road rage, I guess.
That's not true, but I we hope so.
Yeah. So hormones are creating a havoc at this age with
Right.
all mood swings, depression, anxiety, everything. All the objectives
Absolutely.
can be.
Absolutely.
And
Everything can be used at this time. What happens is that the brain processing, the RAM in our brain at that time is so high. Neuroplasticity is the highest in puberty related girls.
Oh.
So they can learn a lot more. So instead, use that power to teach them important things. Teach them what they're passionate about. Teach them, educate them about what path they want to take and all of that. Because neuroplasticity is the highest at that particular time. But the flip side of this particular coin also comes then, like there's so much information to process. They go into sensory overload. It can create anxiety and it can create depression, and especially around PMS time in these girls, especially during the PMS time in these little girls, it has to be addressed. It is not something that should be just pushed under the rug like ऐसे ही होता है ये सबको होता है इसमें क्या इतना इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है types.
And this can have implications in the long run, right?
Absolutely. Because if you do not address anxiety and depression during this particular time in the girl's life, the puberty time, all these habits set into stone almost, and their entire life gets affected because of that. So they should be addressed.
So one curious question, I'm just now thinking back when I was at that age, what was I going through? Or
Right.
And I think those things have changed a lot, right? With this generation because of the exposure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the media and everything.
The kind of the kind of education also now, what it used to be in the yesteryears versus now, I think there's little bit of awareness. I wouldn't say lot of awareness, but definitely a little bit of awareness towards, like, say, adolescent education, in schools who are like, very forthcoming, and they say, actually, like, I have done a lot of adolescent education in schools, that they actually come to you and they say that, what we want our students to know, particularly, like, what is exactly happening at this stage in life, and girls and boys both.
Yeah.
So definitely there is a change, but lot needs to be addressed.
So I like what Prajakta said, girls and boys. Even the boys need to be educated. Okay?
Right.
Because if a girl, they generally tend to become girlfriend, boyfriend around this age. They tend to really dismiss of PMS in a very flippant way. अरे उसके periods आने वाले शायद. That's why she's behaving so erratic and weird. It's not that. Even the boys need to be educated. So my actually main focus is educate the boys more than the girls. Through the ages. Yeah, through the ages. Let's start with the 70-year-olds first.
Okay. And I guess this is the same time when the body dysmorphia phase sets in. For boys and girls both, I guess.
For boys and girls both, somehow much more for the girls. So see, at this particular time, their breasts are just budding. Their face is taking that structure, their body is shaping up. And all this information for you and I is maybe just 1 point. For them, it must be 100x into their brain. Okay? So you and I have that maturity of understanding. It happens, bodies get misshapen through certain experiences and all of that. These girls don't have that. They want to look perfect. They want to look attractive. Like Dr. Prajakta mentioned that, early puberty, it grows them physically, but not mentally. This is when all of this is clashing and it's leading to massive body dysmorphia issues. And I'll tell you just really briefly with my daughter who's in 3rd standard. In her school, I think the girls are seeing their mothers dieting. Oh, so it's all about, oh mom, do you think I can go on a diet? And oh mom, what, my I know. So she stands in front of the mirror sometimes and my stomach is so fat. And I'm like, it couldn't get flatter than that. you know, but that's their belief, and they really believe that. So I had to sit her down and I had to talk to her about all of this, that this is going to happen, this is what is happening. Your friends are just seeing their moms dieting and exercising and all of that, but this is not necessarily the norm. You have to see yourself. So it takes time and patience, and it takes a lot of involvement on the parents' case, on the parents' side, to educate the children and talk to them through it. And it really makes a difference in them.
Sure, it does,
because they listen.
So that exposure is affecting at multiple levels at multiple age groups.
Yes, because nowadays it's all about diet and which gym do you go to, and which private instructor do you have, and what do you do, and how much do you do, and in the mornings also, in the evenings also. So that's like the norm, and they are just getting wrapped up in not realizing what is normal and what is not normal.
Yeah.
It's the parents' responsibility, I think, to just inculcate better living habits. So whether the children obviously should not be going on a diet, but if the parents are making the healthier choice,
Right.
that's what the child is going to see.
See.
What she was talking about, the sugar beverages, okay? If they see that the parents are consistently opting for, a Nimu soda or, just water, you don't have to have some kind of, or chas,
Yeah.
then they are going to automatically go towards it.
Correct.
The parents are enjoying their exercise. If they see that their mother has, gone to the gym or gone for a swim or, taken a dance class, and she comes back looking so happy and, everybody's healthy, then they are going to go towards that. So instead of telling them what to do, show them what to do. So it's not about you do what as I say. It should be
We do it
what I
together,
do.
or we do it together also.
Yeah.
Together also.
So, at what stage should they start exercising, or what would you say? I mean, they should start. I would say they should start exercising as early as possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
But,
the thing is, with children and when you're in school, you have your PE periods. You have to have a sport in school. You are going to go down and play with your friends in the building. So all that is happening anyways. Okay, so you don't have to be worried about a very young child being physically active. But as they growing older, their play stops. Okay, so then general going down and running around in the building, that stuff, they start to be around in groups and chatting.
right.
But Richa, I'm going to interrupt you here a little bit. Like I said, I have a small child. You'll be surprised how many children are not doing free play anymore. They don't,
Yeah.
because the parents are at their work. They have their iPads and their phones and their screens. And
That is a whole other battle that
So true.
that's quite
different.
but exercise as a structured exercise, we can start in the form of sport very early. So whatever sport, and it shouldn't be a single sport. What I would think is that they can try, a few different sports, see what they enjoy, see what they are good at. Because if you enjoy something and you realize that you're good at it, it's more likely that you're going to continue doing that. They should start exercising or doing physical activity as early as possible. And again, like I said, it will come more if you show them, if you give an example of yourself.
Set an example so that they can follow you.
Yeah.
Okay. So one question is, during this phase of puberty or menarche or whatever, does it impact the growth in terms of physical growth, height?
Absolutely.
Does it impact?
So hormones, like she said, that they are working on all systems of your body. Hasita just mentioned what is happening with your hormones in your reproductive organs in the body.
Yeah.
Nancy said what these hormones are doing on your brain. Same hormones are also working on your bones. They're working on your muscles. So your bones have something called growth plates. Okay, so they're all long bones, like of the hands and the legs. They on either side, they have a growth plate. So that's where they are going to be growing. So hormones work on these growth plates, and that's how they become longer and you become taller. Okay.
Okay.
At menarche, the growth tends to reduce. Okay, so the accelerated growth, which has been happening, the growth spurts, they start to become lesser and lesser. So if you have early menarche, chances are that the girl is going to become shorter than what she could have been.
I think, yeah, I wanted to tell you that also about one of the, very bad aspects of like early puberty. That, that when she rightly said that the growth plates, or we call them epiphyseal plates, right?
Okay.
When the girl hits puberty, that actually stops or like starts decelerating, and it comes to a point where the epiphyseal plate doesn't grow anymore, the long bones. So that actually denotes your final height as an adult. So girls going through early puberty, right? Initially they will just start looking very tall. They'll be taller than their peers. But as the menarche sets in, and that is the end stage of puberty, right?
Then
That is the time where the height stops growing, and that is about it. So the final height or the stature of the girl, initially she might look taller than her friends or her peers.
Right.
Later, when other girls are still growing, they still grow till the age of like say 15, some age 16 years also the height. But the girls who have early puberty, they remain short statured, and that's really again one of the reasons of body dysmorphism.
Wow.
That initially they feel that oh wow, I'm nicely growing as a woman, etc. And then ultimately when the menarche hits and all, and then the growth stops, their peers, their friends, they're still growing taller.
But it's not just the bones; it's also your muscles.
And even
Right.
even the fat depositions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fat deposition matters a lot.
In a female body, there are a female body always has more fat percentage-wise than a male body.
Okay.
And that is how it should be, because fat is very necessary for your hormones to work well. It is also necessary for your breast development. It is necessary for your pelvic floor. So it's a necessary thing. So
Okay.
like Mansi was saying that they are now wondering why my stomach is looking bigger and why is why am I getting fatter and all that. That is what nature is doing to you, and you need all that.
Need all that, especially for your fertile years going ahead. Yeah.
So not only is fat deposits they are happening, your muscle is also growing. So in
Okay.
this age, if you don't work your muscles, if you don't use your muscles, then the muscle development will not be optimal. It will not be as much as it should be or it could be. So this is the age when you have to start exercising
Yeah.
regularly, which is why I insist on telling all my patients, try a few things. So try doing this, try doing that, try cycling, try swimming, try dancing, try a team sport, whatever. Just
Move the body.
move the body.
And that is the age when I.
Find what you like.
Right.
Right.
Once you find what you like, you will continue doing that.
But that's the age when they actually stop doing all this.
Exactly. That's so unfortunate.
It's the opposite of what should be, in fact,
They want to be in their rooms. They
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
sound very serious and
Yes.
all
So,
of that. Yeah.
Let them do all that, which is why there could be some kids who are happier with the team sport, and then you encourage that. There might be some kids who just like being solo, and I think during puberty, a lot of kids are like this.
So,
Yeah.
So drawn,
Yes,
like that.
Drawn.
you take them for a hike. Okay, you take them for a hike. You get them to do even obscure sports like horse riding. They will click with something, and that will stay with them for life. And this is good. This has to be for life, because what is happening right now at menarche will determine your further fertile period of your life. So all the other problems like PCOS, which is so vast that we can't even discuss it on this pattern today. So PCOS or infertility, that is all because of obesity, because of wrong
food intake,
habits,
chemicals.
Lack
Yeah.
of exercise,
lack of
of
exercise, all of that further on. And further on as in, so if let's say menarche we consider at 13 years of age or 12 years of age, this is 15 years later when you're going to start get
All these
struggling
problems,
with,
yeah.
PCOS. you're going to start struggling
Yeah,
with infertility. And then all the IVF and this and that, all that junjat starts.
It can be avoided.
It
can be avoided.
It can be avoided.
Yeah.
So very small changes during the
Early years, yeah.
like literally the phase of puberty. I think like the childhood obesity, if it is like can be called like that, because
It is.
get very conscious if we call them
Yeah.
like overweight or obese, but that's what has been happening. And post pandemic, this has actually had like a huge increase in
Yeah.
the amount of childhood obesity, but we can't blame them for that. But definitely what we can do is like, trying to, like as she rightly said, that, inculcate those kind of habits in them wherein they exercise regularly. And of course, we being parents, we can always inculcate healthy habits. Healthy
Yeah.
habits.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. They're going to look up to the parents.
Absolutely.
And again, unfortunately, now I'm sitting on the other side and listening to you guys. I guess when we were we were younger, our mothers were home. Most of our mothers were home. Many were working, of course. But then you know what? There was a lot of responsibility given on both the parents and the child to behave in a particular way, do activities, etc. Like in our house, there was a set rule that when father comes back from office at 5:30, we should not be in the house. We should be
Right.
playing outside.
Outside.
I was just going to interrupt and say that
तासानंतर घरी यायचो.
parents were home, but we were never home.
Actually,
We were never home. I have spent my entire childhood just climbing trees.
actually.
And they were trees.
And there were trees.
Yes, so did we. So did we. I mean, she rightly said that.
Yeah, yeah.
That we were never in the house.
Yeah.
You know, that
actually.
was
You took
that
your cycles and you went out and your parents
Yeah.
didn't know.
Didn't even know where we were. Yeah.
Came back after
Now-
4 hours.
Yeah. Now I've had guests in other podcasts. So basically, you know what? Whatever we are discussing, the bottom line is discussed almost in every wellness podcast.
Right.
That is the pressing it.
That is.
yeah.
And they all end up saying that, yeah, I can't send my child out cycling because the streets are crowded or whatever. Our society compound is small or whatever. So it's a vicious cycle that we are getting stuck in.
Every generation will be different, right? So, if we consider our parents' generation, they didn't have, they had far more safety, let's say, than we did.
They even had far more activities that we did at that time.
Yeah.
They live in this world. Now, this is what we have.
So we've got to figure out
we have to
our
figure
ways. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that a patient of mine actually realized is her kid was addicted to games. Okay, so he would play all sorts of computer games. So she made him stop that, but he would not listen. So she got the Wii, where you have
Physical games.
Okay, like the game.
Okay, so you have to be that.
You have to be creative. Yeah. You have to be creative.
So,
True,
yeah.
true. Yeah.
So it can be done, I guess.
But the sad part is that it can be done, but now the parents' involvement has to be so much more than what our parents or even their parents ever had to. So now not only do we have to work for money and for earning a living, but we really have to be 120% committed to upbringing the children also, because they're not doing it on their own at all anymore. Like we did almost.
Yeah, yeah. The parents had to go around looking. Where are we?
Where are we?
In whose
Yeah.
house or where?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. I'm going back to my childhood days.
I know.
Coming to PMS, premenstrual syndrome. Okay. That seems to be again a very common thing in every girl or a woman who goes through. So, what could be the causes? Again, all the foundational things that we just discussed.
No, I'll tell you the scientific reason behind premenstrual syndrome. See, syndrome is a group of signs and symptoms. So let's just
Okay.
talk about the premenstrual symptoms. Okay.
Okay.
So essentially, the premenstrual is before the menses.
Right.
So anywhere, say 5 days before the menses, the amount of estrogen, okay, which is the feel-good hormone, which is related to serotonin, which is the
Yeah.
feel-good hormone, it starts reducing. And progesterone, which is not the notorious one, but it is related to fear, anxiety, depression in the brain, right? That starts jumping up.
Okay.
And it happens during that time, the first, say, 5 to 6 days before the menses, and that is the time when you start getting these symptoms of irritability and mood swings, and you get immense food cravings. Then there is a lot of body fullness, like there is a fluid retention in the body which leads to breast fullness. A lot of times the women say that my rings don't fit anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
that type of a thing. Another thing, yeah, very typical. Yeah. And another thing is you just start feeling that withdrawn kind of a feeling, like that I don't want to talk to anyone. Like please don't, whatever. And then sometimes it is misdiagnosed as how she's behaving, or you get dismissed by your own kids for that matter also.
Or husbands.
Husbands, but not kids, kids in that whatever. So these symptoms are because of a certain scientific reason, and it is not because that she's actually like that
Okay.
before the periods. And then of course once you get the menses, and it actually, the progesterone levels absolutely fall, the menses take place and all that, and then post that, say after 4 days, and all the symptoms are gone and she's back to normal. So if a woman is experiencing this particular cycle, cycle after cycle for say 3 or 4 consecutive cycles, we label it as a premenstrual syndrome.
Okay.
And it is one of the causes, what do you say, said causes of depression. Now, yeah, it becomes like a kind of a, not, I can't say habit, but it becomes a kind of a thing which is like consecutively happening. And because of that, she cannot fulfill her, activities in that particular period. Yeah. And that carries on. And she needs she needs all the support. Sometimes she needs psychiatric help. Sometimes she needs a lot of counseling. And yes, so there is a scientific cause behind that.
Okay.
And there are many, treatments rather therapies for this. Like I just said, that if she is actually having a premenstrual syndrome, she can opt for many things. Like there is evening primrose oil, vitamin E has been shown to kind of, it's all symptomatic, but.
And again, it will depend on case to case basis.
Absolutely.
Right?
And completely. So there is no one treatment for everybody at all.
If it doesn't, like one tailor fit doesn't fit all, like that kind of a thing.
What fits everything is exercise.
Absolutely.
A lot of these symptoms are taken care of because of other hormones that are happening in your body. So if you exercise, then your serotonin levels and your endorphins both increase. So to counterbalance the
Progesterone.
if you increase these,
Yes.
obviously it's going to help. So the body fullness or the water retention, that causes tightness, that causes bloating. If you exercise again, this is going
Gets
to get
better.
better. The cravings, the food cravings that you get. If you have been choosing the right thing since menarche, you will still go wrong. I'm not saying that you always have to choose the fruit and never the chocolate cake. No, you should choose the chocolate cake. But you will not choose it 10 out of 10 times. You will choose it maybe 7 out of 10. That is
Enough. Yeah.
It's a win.
No, but I totally agree with Dr. Richa, because when I actually consult women with who actually have a premenstrual syndrome, I tell them that what, because then they typically say that no exercise, I'm getting cramps, and I said no, the right way to do is that you actually go and do any form of exercise, but not like you're on the phone and you're walking. That is not an exercise. That is absolutely not an exercise.
activity.
Activity is fine, but exercise is something which you have kept that time for, say 40 minutes, where you are actually sweating it out.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Any form,
And she rightly said that the endorphins and the serotonins, they are increasing after exercise. So it is one of the therapeutic things which you can do when you're actually going through periods.
Walking, people think, I walk 1 hour. I don't forget to walk. I do that.
But you will see these aunties and uncles on your jogging tracks, especially. So you'll see them for years. They are very regular. Every day and walk for 3, 4, 5 kilometers. But you never see them change. Why is that? Because they are not challenging anything.
Anything, they're
It is
just walking.
status quo.
Yeah.
So if this is their level and they eat something more, then it's going to add on. It's never going to be challenged.
Also, unfortunate thing is कि many women think कि हम लोग घर का काम कर लेते हैं ना,
Yeah,
so वो भी तो exercise तो होती है.
Yeah.
नहीं, that
Not
is
that-
not.
Equally important.
Equally important, yeah.
The people who sit in
Absolutely.
the office are at a disadvantage
worse.
because they don't do ghar ka kaam.
Correct.
And also there is something called body resistance.
Yeah.
Okay, so our body also develops resistance towards the same set of exercise if you keep on doing it again and again. So when you're working in the house, you are working, no doubt. You are burning calories, you're using your muscles, but you're doing the same activity every single day. So your body's just gotten used to it. You're not challenging it anymore at
What
all.
kind of exercise are we talking about even in the house? We have maids do a lot of chores, right?
Yeah.
So you're sitting on the sofa, then यहाँ से उठ के दूसरे sofa पे या तो टीवी का
Washing clothes by hand.
hand
You're
or
not sweeping and cleaning and none of that.
You would
Yeah.
have a washing
I
machine, you have a
joke-
dishwasher.
Yeah.
We don't even have chakkis anymore, right?
Yeah.
That is the best exercise for abs for all of us.
Zata, na?
Yeah, Zata, chakki.
I think that's not even before our parents' generation.
I know we need to bring it back actually now. We need to bring it back.
Got to bring it back. I also tell, like in my classes also, you know, now we are going, even in the kitchen, we want soft closure drawer.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, hydraulic system. So you just do this and the drawer opens on its own. Arey,
So you do this.
Really interesting thing was instead of using a mixer,
yeah,
get a cycle,
I know.
motor.
Motor. Oh, yes.
Maybe there's something.
I'm in the process of making that for my son to charge his phone, by the way.
That will be very.
You want to charge the phone cycle? I don't have money for the electricity bill.
I think more startups should come up with these
I know.
products. I think, you know, we should do it. Yeah, why not? So I wanted to ask one more question. Dr. Mansi, is there anything that we can do for mental health during the PMS phase?
Yes, there is. But let me first explain a little bit about what really happens and why it is harmful when we don't do anything about it.
Okay.
Okay. As Dr. Prajakta mentioned, during PMS, our estrogen levels have fallen down. And if you remember, I said our hormones are a symphony.
Yes.
Certain times the symphony just goes, whee! You know, it's just
Okay.
sudden. Okay.
Okay.
So estrogen falls down slow while progesterone rises up rapidly high.
Okay.
And that is when PMS hits. Now, progesterone is called the nesting hormone. Okay. Nature wants every woman to have a viable pregnancy at the end of every period.
Okay.
Okay. That is nature's prerogative.
Okay.
Okay. So ideally, when PMS hits us, we as women are getting ready to be pregnant. Okay. So that's why we go into our nesting mode, it's called. All right. So we tend to withdraw from everybody else. We tend to get a little bit broody. We tend to get a little bit irritable. And once we get irritable, we prefer being by ourselves, in fact, you know. It's during this phase when you are withdrawing within yourself that you have to be extremely careful about your thought patterns. This is the time when already, because of the way the hormones are marinating our brain in a very different way than what it did 15 days before, our thought processes are actually going quite haywire. So even when there are no problems, I am coming up with problems. Even when there are no problems, I think there might be a problem over here. So I can tend to get fussy about certain things. I can tend to think wrong also. So you have to be really aware of your thought patterns during PMS, because if this particular pattern sets in, that really wreaks a lot of havoc on your brain over a period of time.
Right.
So even things that are normal, you might spoil them just because of your faulty thought patterns. So this is when you go to a counselor. If PMS is hitting you really bad, month after month after month, generally the gynecologists themselves refer you to a counselor, and we then talk through all the things that are happening in your life. What are your thought patterns? And we all have faulty thought patterns. All you need to do is bring awareness. That's it, to yourself. Once you're aware of it, I can stop it. Okay, oh my God, I'm thinking this wrong. Oh, this is my PMS period. I better stop right here.
Right.
There is nothing. I'll deal with this next week. Maybe next week the problem might not seem so bad.
So important this is, no? To-
Absolutely important. Yeah, absolutely important.
And one more thing I would like to add in this is, you know, the beauty of this is that because our periods are very predictable, You know, like so many women have quite predictable periods. We know exactly like 28-day cycle or 30-day cycle. So we know exactly that, you know, this is the phase where my mind is going to go a little haywire and I need to, you know, that awareness. I can actually prepare myself. You know, there are many things that kids are growing up, there might be other things in the house and all that. You know, that typical phase where, you know, she's kind of going through that whatever, where there is going to be a lot of friction. I think that awareness.
And to talk a little bit personally about myself, I make everybody at home aware. Yes, I do. And even certain friends, when I'm chatting with them or I'm talking to them and I'm like, I am PMSing, you better be aware. Or I am grumpy, you better be aware. Okay. I have given the warning. Now it's up to you.
Like a disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
I might just snap. You know, that kind of thing. So, you know, that awareness is, it's extremely important.
It's extremely important.
Yeah,
Even let the people around you know that this is happening. There's nothing to be shy or worried about. Even they go a little bit.
You can control really.
No, you can't.
Hormonal levels you can't control. Your behavior to some extent, but
To some extent, you can control. Hormones you can't control. But if you give the people around you awareness, there'll be lesser fights. There'll be lesser arguments. Lesser misunderstandings.
Relating to your partners, spouses,
Right.
men overall,
Men.
you know. And they should be made aware of this. That, you know, that typical thing of dismissing, "Arey haan yaar, ye har mahine hota hai." No, you know, you cannot dismiss it like that. Because it is, I'm not saying disrespectful, but, you know, there has to be some concern about it.
Concern.
She's going through that consecutively. You know, it is concerning, definitely. Then I feel that, you know, the woman sometimes is like, it's like, you know, it's okay, it's just a monthly thing. It's going to be like, you know, keep on happening because the other people are behaving like that.
But like Mansi said, if it goes on building up and your thought processes change itself, then it's going to be dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Suppress it now so that doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And sometimes all it takes is just 1 or 2 sessions. That's it.
Correct.
To sort your thought processes out, you know.
And that dismissing attitude also can become a pattern for other people.
Other people.
So
Other
even
people
if
taken for granted.
Yeah,
Correct.
Also, even if you're not PMSing, then they will still dismiss
exactly,
you.
that's what I meant.
So it's like
The fun story is recently my son, who is 15, he saw one particular machine out in the bathroom. When he went to my bathroom, he came out and he's like, "Dad, the next 7 days are going to be tough on us, okay? You better say yes to everything she says." So I loved him for that. I'm like, thank you very much. At least you understand what is happening at 15. You know, you have to understand it, you know.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful.
That's very thoughtful.
Yeah. Otherwise, you know, it can be taken advantage of also. Like
Absolutely.
Dr. Richa is saying.
And I've even seen so many of my patients who come and say they cannot stop crying for 7 days.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be so stressful. It really shouldn't be so stressful.
Yeah.
They can be helped. And you know what? I keep pushing for this, but form your tribe around yourself. Form your 4, 5, 6, 7 like-minded people. It doesn't have to be women, men. That distinction doesn't have to be there. Just form them and reach out at such times.
True.
So when you are feeling a little bit sad or something, just reach out and talk it through, you know. If you're not comfortable with a counselor, that is also perfectly okay. But at least reach out and find out for yourself what is happening to me, sorts, you know, and talk with somebody.
Correct.
matters.
Correct. Okay. We move to another interesting topic, which is perimenopause. Okay.
One which is very close to my
Please expand. Over to you, Dr. Prajakta.
See, again, like we were talking about puberty. Okay, now we are like, you know, transitioning slowly. That she was first pubertal, then she went through a reproductive life, very successfully, say. And now she is at that transition in her life where, you know, her reproductive capability is slowly reducing and she is transitioning into a woman who is no longer going to have her periods, first to start with. And then her ovaries are going to stop producing any hormones. And then she's going to reach at a stage where it is called as menopause, where there are no periods for consecutive 12 months. That is when we actually label the woman as menopausal. But she hasn't got her periods for 1 year or 12 consecutive months. That is literally the definition. So what's perimenopause? So perimenopause is anywhere near menopause. You know,
Okay.
for example, she could be perimenopausal. She could be, right? Or I could be. You know? The thing is that what is the length of perimenopause? So
Yeah.
it can be few months to few years. Yeah.
Few years also.
Exactly. So it can be as long as 6 years for some women,
Wow.
right? So perimenopause is that you are literally going through that transition towards menopause, but it is that intervening period when the following things happen. Your periods start getting irregular. Then you get into that triad of symptoms of perimenopause, which is essentially hot flashes, night sweats, mood changes. These three things are extremely like it's like a kind of a set pattern for perimenopausal women.
Okay.
That the irregularity of menses is one thing, and then all these symptoms which actually come along with that. So that's actually very.
But then, doctor, I've observed, I have some friends who've never experienced anything painful or whatever. They've just sailed through that phase. Whereas some, like, very, very bad.
Yeah.
All kinds of issues.
So I think, there is nothing called as that no symptoms, very frankly.
Acha.
Yeah. So the symptoms can be mild, moderate, and severe. Mild, as in they literally, they will not understand the difference between sweating and a hot flash. Because for me also, when I used to, because I exercise very regularly, so I never used to understand the difference between sweating and a hot flash. And then I started getting the night sweats. That is when I was like, oh, something's not right. Then I understood the pattern that, what is happening and how exactly it is happening. Then that was a absolute distinction between this is sweating, this is a hot flash.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What reminded me was couple of nights, multiple times when I have woken up thinking कि अच्छा fan को fast but it could be
Typical thing that that you are maybe let's not talk about like outside temperature, but maybe you're in a place where the air conditioning is on and all that. Maybe you're in a group of people and all, and suddenly you just typically start getting that trickle of sweat down your neck or like suddenly over your lips and all that, and you're like everybody is looking at you, and that is sometimes quite embarrassing for a perimenopause.
But that's what people do to me. In the group, start sweating.
You are just fine, but why are you
Sweating.
Like just search, like reach for a tissue paper or something like that. So it could be embarrassing, but if you're aware that this is what happens, of course, you are caught unaware of a hot flash coming on. But yes, so this is one of the most troublesome symptoms of perimenopause, and almost 75 to 80% women, they experience it. It can be, like I said, it can be mild, moderate, or severe.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm hearing a lot of extreme cases where women are complaining about all kinds of things, like joint ache, inflammation in the body, or migraines, and digestion issues or whatever. So
anything and everything
can happen.
Yeah. So like I said, the triad of symptoms, of course, these are the ones which almost every woman goes through when she's going through perimenopause. But the rest of the symptoms, which I'm just going to tell you, is joint pains and muscle aches.
Okay.
Will tell you much better, because there are women who are like so fit and all that, and then when this transition is happening, they suddenly have this non-specific, "Acha kambar dukhti hai, पैर में बहुत दर्द हो रहा है," that kind of a thing, wherein like their diet is good, they're having regular exercise and all, but these things are happening to them. That is one thing. Like I told about the mood swings, irritability, anxiety, depression for actually no reason, very frankly. But we should understand that the estrogen levels are falling, they're declining literally day by day.
What can be done? Are there any medications, or should we just let it happen naturally?
It's a natural process.
It's a natural process, but you can take care of your diet part a little. But you can eat a lot of foods that are rich in phytoestrogens. Everything green, pale bhaja, or leafy green vegetables, avocados, broccoli, soya. So all these green vegetables that are
Eggs also.
Yeah. So look for medications, look for foods that are rich in phytoestrogens. So these are the foods that have a rudimentary form of estrogen in them, and then the body modifies and just uses it a little bit extra to help us out a bit.
Basically, they're called as isoflavonoids, right? So isoflavonoids are essentially like, they have like estrogenic-like properties, not estrogen, of course. And they can be found in Indian diet. There is chana, there are lentils, then there are flax seeds, and there are many such things. And of course, the soy products. Can be anything. Can be soy milk, soy chunks. It can be like the soya flour, which you can actually mix in your normal atta.
Cheese, of course.
Yeah. So, so the isoflavonoids, the lignans, saponins, these are the things which have estrogenic-like properties, and
They do help a lot.
Okay.
And another thing which perimenopause does, a normal, healthy reproductive age woman as she transitions, is the loss of estrogen in her body, which is happening. It causes a lot of changes in the reproductive system as such, mainly in the vagina, in the urethra. So that leads to a lot of vaginal dryness. It leads to a lot of itching. It leads to frequent urinary infections. It's a very common kind of an instance in my office, is saying that, you know what, I drink so much of water, but I'm getting UTI again and again. Typically, she's like, say, 47, 48, and coming with this type of a thing. So it's, again, like I said, it's perimenopause. And the urethral tissues, everything is kind of now getting thinned out. It's losing its moisture, it's losing suppleness because of loss of estrogen. And these are one of the few problems which Dr. Mansi is experiencing in her clinic as well. Typically, women coming to her with like vaginal dryness, and like there is absolutely, like, they want to be reproductive. I mean, that reproductive phase is over, but they want to be sexually active, right? But that is very difficult.
So I have many patients who come to my clinic where they have had sex the night before, and next day the lower back is hurting like crazy.
Yeah.
So when they come to me, my first question is, "Kal raat kya kiya tha?" Literally, and that's the only way they can tell, because many of them are shy to speak about it,
Why?
Yeah, so their hips are hurting, their thighs start hurting. It makes no sense, medical sense to any of us, because there's no reason for this to happen. But you have to clean it out of them a little bit that way, and then explain it to them that this is normal, but you can use a lubricant and make your life slightly easier. Okay, so
They won't be able to connect also.
no, they cannot, because
They can?
they can.
Yes. After
Okay.
that, they can.
Because many of us are, unfortunately, in the Indian culture especially, we are trained not to talk.
Yeah. Even
So-
to your doctor.
Even to your doctor, like even to your own husband, you're trained not to talk. Forget doctor. Sometimes,
True.
So that's the pattern we have to change. And women are getting comfortable. Now when they come to doctors like us, for example, who we know our stuff, we know how to approach them and all.
So you guys must be making them extremely comfortable.
I hope so. I really hope so, because nobody has to go through any of this. We don't need to go through any of this. Just a little bit of awareness builds a lot of comfort.
True.
A lot of comfort. True.
But even for these symptoms, again, exercise.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely.
Everything that is
Special pelvic floor exercises.
Right.
So you could do those. In puberty, the increase of estrogen caused your muscle mass to increase, your fat to increase, and be distributed along your body in the right places. Now the exact opposite. Okay? So your estrogen reducing is reducing your muscle mass. So actually, like this much muscle is now becoming this much muscle. Your muscle's ability to regenerate is also getting lesser and lesser.
Okay.
So you're going to have to train it more. So strength training during menopause is non-negotiable.
And strength training means
Totally.
Strength training does not necessarily have to be gym.
Yeah.
right.
You can home strength training. You can do body weight exercises. You can do climbing. So hill climbing, hiking, that can be a strength training exercise. But strength training is essential, and how? So you need to be able to do that. So that is going to maintain your muscle mass. Increasing your muscle mass is very difficult at this stage. It can be achieved, of course it can, but it's difficult. So your protein intake has to be optimal. So you have to choose protein in every meal, in whatever form you want it. So if you're vegetarian, you can choose vegetarian forms of protein, which are not the greatest, but you can still make
Do with that, yeah.
eggs is wonderful. Whole eggs.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the yellow contains far more, as in the faida is so much more than
The white.
than just the white, that you cannot just
So people
forget
think
yellow.
yellow fake dena hai, yolk
हाँ.
fake dena hai, क्योंकि cholesterol
Cholesterol है.
cholesterol hai, lekin काफी कम है. You have lot of other ingredients in it that your body requires. Yeah.
The same thing. So this is happening to your skeletal muscles, so your hands and legs and all that. Your cardiac muscle and your cardiac system for all these years was protected by estrogen. Okay.
Okay.
You don't hear of many young women getting cardiac events, right? Nowadays, you hear of 30-year-old men who have had a heart attack, right? But you don't hear of a 30-year-old woman having a heart attack. Why? Because your
Estrogen is
estrogen
protected.
has been protecting your heart. So at menopause, your estrogen is now very, very low. So your heart is now at risk. And that is never addressed.
And by then you are slightly overweight also, right?
So there is your muscles, your cellular muscles are doing this. So the mass is reducing, the strength is reducing, the regenerative power is reducing. Your cardiac muscle protection is now going away, and your fat is now getting redistributed. Okay? So there is going to be a lot of visceral fat. So fat around your abdominal organs, which is a very dangerous kind of fat.
Yeah.
So you're putting on weight. You are that weight is going to the wrong places, and your joints and all are aching. So your ability to exercise, or at least enthusiasm to exercise, is getting lower. So all this becomes a vicious cycle, and a previously absolutely healthy woman can within 5 or 6 years just transform into an unhealthy woman, which is just strange. Like, I can give you my example. Up until, and I don't know why this happened at 40, it was nowhere near menopause, but I could not. I've been running all my life. I'm not a fast runner. I'm a slow but consistent runner. I could be not running for 3, 4, 5 months. Okay? The day I get up, I could very easily just do a 5K, no issues.
Wow.
Okay? If I train for a week, I could do a 10. Okay? I could train for a half marathon in 3 months.
Okay.
And a happy half marathon. Now, all this is taking slightly more time. I can still do all those things, but it just takes
Lot more effort.
a little more time to do that. So as you approach menopause, that's going to be even more difficult. So you have to put in effort. You have to say, okay, chalo, it's not happening, very happily from me, but if I do this, it's going to give me that benefit. So that's where the counseling part of it.
Yeah, and
Not only
I feel the perimenopause is the right period, the right time where you can actually tell these women that what, see, the estrogen up till now has been like this very nice parent to you, having cardioprotective effect, having taking care of your arteries, taking care of everything. But since now it is going to be declining, there are going to be these certain things which you might not have, some women have that thing that, oh, I'm so invincible. मुझे ब्लड प्रेशर कभी नहीं, डायबिटीज कभी नहीं, अरे no, but it might hit you. You never
So
know.
all these years, the hormones were protecting your body. Now they are gone. Now it's your job to protect your body. So it's completely your job to protect the body, and that is the most important part that almost 99% women don't understand.
I want 90% of our women audiences to start exercising.
This is what is happening. The exercise is going to solve it, yes. But the mental health is also all over the place. So
What I am seeing a lot, Richa, rather, is that many women want to exercise, want to do work. And even it's a case with me also. I have small children, so my time is kind of really broken down between my clinical work and my children. I have no time and energy for myself. And that's when the depression is starting to set in. Okay, so that is how most of the time all these perimenopausal women are facing depression only because most of them are stuck in the family life also.
So how do you take time out, Mansi? Because you are very active.
I am very active. I drive my entire family up the wall.
Apart from that.
No. In my house, the rule is everybody has to chip in. Everybody has to chip in. It can't be only the woman who's taking
Very
care of
important,
things.
yeah.
Because I went through depression. So actually, I went through a really bad 2024. Just I approached Prajakta. She was my doctor. And I was like, what is happening? This is madness. I've been such a strong person all my life. What is happening? You know? So she and a couple of other people really helped me understand that this is probably the beginning of perimenopause. So despite being a medically trained person, I myself could not figure out what is happening with me. It took a little bit of extra help from outside to understand what is happening with me.
Right.
So if I need this much help, imagine how much some other woman who's not medically trained, how much help she might require.
You know, women as such, they are kind of, like not now, like not like our generation or like maybe the younger ones, but like, in the yesteryears, they used to just dismiss by saying, ki, haan, yaar, ye hota rehta hai. It's okay.
No, ये होता रहता है, but I'll tell you what. I'll interrupt just a little bit and talk a little bit about what Richa also talked. I'm a passionate encouraging of pelvic floor exercises. So our maybe grandmothers must have said ये होता रहता है, but how many problems did they have with the uterus?
Yeah.
Prolapsed uterus and all of that. The incontinence, nobody talks about that. In fact,
To interrupt, but that was also related to the number of
children.
the number of pregnancies. that-
But they had number of pregnancies. They were still thin. Now we have a lot of fat on us.
Yes, that's to do with our
So much.
activities, because they do
And
not have the
Chucky again. We're back to the Chucky,
they
right?
don't have all the modern equipments and all, and like we are testable with that.
Or even the testing. So really,
themselves with the blood work every year, at least once a year.
Yeah.
once a year is.
How many of them did it?
But then also, frankly, there were very few cases of maybe
No, they didn't talk.
prolapse or
They didn't talk.
no.
No. So incontinence is where you lose a little bit of urine
Yeah.
without control.
Yeah.
That and prolapse is rampant in the Indian people, Indian women, rampant. Nobody talked about it. Nobody talks about it. That is what it is. So really focus on your pelvic floor muscles. I myself can tell from experience that makes a huge difference in everything. So understand how to do Kegels. Some people have a very fancy way of, I have to sit with my legs up and like this and all. It is core and Kegels, yeah.
Core strength is something that is overlooked a lot. Even in people who do regular exercise, so like I go to the gym, let's say, or you focus on your muscles that can be seen. Like people do a lot of abs, and they think that
Yeah.
that is core. It
Yeah.
is not.
It is not.
It's completely different,
And,
and that reduces with age as well. I mean, not just with your estrogen and everything. It just reduces with age. So it's happening to both men and women. Women because and especially Asian Indian women, because the way we are structured, our hip and pelvic ratio is such that we can easily lose our core strength. But if we build it up, it's going to help us
Yeah.
in literally everything. Right.
Richa, can you also talk a little bit about all these patients who come to us and they are like, मी 1 वर्ष झाले योगा करते माझं वजन कमी होत नाहीये. मी रोज 5 किलोमीटर वॉकिंग करते वजन कमी होत नाहीये.
One exercise.
I've exhausted my patients to explain people. I get calls. "Nala वजन कमी करायचंय. Can I do yoga?" I said, if you want to lose weight, please don't come to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
People have this whole
misconception about things that will be.
You need all three things. So you need
Yeah.
what you need is cardiovascular health. So you need to do some form of aerobic exercise. That can be walking, it can be running, it can be cycling, it can be swimming.
Zumba we also do.
All of that. You need strength training. Okay. Now, strength training is something that you can do in the gym very easily, but you can also do it at home. So if you do squats, you do pull-ups, you do push-ups, you do bridges, all of that, and maybe have a few weights. Just a few dumbbells at home, and that can be your strength training. And the third thing is flexibility. Okay, so you need to be flexible, and yoga helps with flexibility. But if you just do yoga, you're not going to get the benefits of the other two things.
Yeah.
So you need a combination of all of that.
But also one thing for your knowledge, probably, I don't know if you might be knowing, in yoga, there are a lot of kriyas which help with pelvic floor strength.
Absolutely. Everything. And even pranayam.
Yeah.
Pranayam,
even during
and then there are
pranayam.
these kriyas also which we do for pelvic floor strength.
Yeah.
Kegels, we believe has come from these.
Absolutely. So during, in fact, Kapalbhati, I teach the patients during the Kapalbhati, use your pelvic fluid with each breath. That's how much you learn to control everything, in your body.
Yeah.
Take a little bit from everything
Yeah.
and make your own program. And then do that.
And change the program month to month.
And challenge yourself. So if you've been
Yeah.
doing 5 kilometers now for a year, you should either increase the distance
Or reduce the
speed, never both together.
Correct.
But just keep doing that. So if you are doing 5K in 1 hour, now try and do it in 50 minutes. Or, add a little bit of an incline.
So basically increase the
Something.
effort so that you see the
Increase the
results.
effort, you-
Yeah.
Correct.
Change where you walk and all of
Correct.
See, that's the worst part. You come to a point in your time when you don't want to take effort anymore. You're so tired.
Yeah.
I've had my children, I've taken care of my family. I just want to be these sorts.
I also struggle that a lot myself because
Yeah.
I train yoga, people to do yoga. Their time ही नहीं होता है, time ही नहीं होता है, and then they join in and they will miss the classes.
First time है तो आपके पास time होना ही चाहिए.
Because Anil Ambani has money for all the housework.
Does not matter. If you can't give your own body
Right.
minutes in 24
Right.
hours, you cannot expect anything out of it.
That's true.
Then you have to suffer the consequences.
Yeah. Women have to take time out.
You have to take that.
Yeah.
Because somehow like this is a very very common I can't say problem but an issue. How much I'm doing so much of exercise. Me kai khatats nahi. I just like one fulka I eat and whatever. I said no, but you know what? You need to eat the right thing first. Okay.
And the right thing.
Like she clearly said, proteins during specifically this phase of your life. Proteins. Yes. One that is important. Water. Please drink water.
Please drink water.
Why women have that thinking? Mita, pila na 4 glass pani. No, you cannot just have 4 glasses. Your body is composed of almost 75-80% water. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
Very easy thing. Say 3 liters of water. 1 liter bottle, 3 bottles. Measure karke rakh do. From the time you get up in the morning till the time you sleep, you have to finish that.
It's actually, how I look at it is ki women don't prioritize that enough. Their priorities are elsewhere.
If you are working outside now, washrooms in our country is a real problem. If
You
it's not a
squat,
good
you
washroom,
will get nice muscles. So squat, you have other option.
if that is not a clean
I promote that a lot, by the way. I promote that a lot.
I promote that all the time.
In public places, if there's an Indian toilet, I've seen
This
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
otherwise
that
you're
is
half squatting.
you're half squatting anyways.
Yeah.
Which is again one of the really bad scenarios outside for women. It is such a uncomfortable kind of a
You
situation for
find
them.
loose. Like if you are traveling, you
Yeah.
find loose. Then what do you do? So they say we don't drink water. In most of my patients, and this is I'm not talking about just women or perimenopausal women, all women. I do a sports medicine practice essentially. If anybody comes with me with any issue, I say if you drink enough water, 50% of your problems are going to be over right then. So, like literally. So, I'm going to write you a prescription
For water.
I kid you not. I write them a prescription for water. And Rajasthan.
Yeah. It reminded me of our doctor in Bangalore. Excellent doctor. He's no more. But, these were his prescriptions. Sometimes he would prescribe a book. And, very, very. Yeah. Okay. Coming to Dr. Prajakta, an important question again. During this phase of perimenopause also, can women conceive? How should they be careful?
A very, very important question to be dealt with. What happens during perimenopause was, I was just telling about the transition where the periods are getting irregular. Okay, she's still getting her periods. Okay, but then what starts happening, the length of the period starts varying. Like initially she used to get periods 28 days, 30 days. It starts increasing. Or in some cases they go shorter. Ideal length is between 21 to 35 days. That's the ideal length of a menstrual cycle, the menstrual period. But in perimenopause, it can be maybe twice a month, or maybe she will have a long waiting for say 40 days, and the periods will come after 40 days. So a lot of irregularities. But she's still getting the periods, which means that the ovaries are still producing the eggs. and there could be a chance, a probability, which is quite less. I mean, it's just like say 0.2%, which is quite less. But can be an oops.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, it's very, very important to address this particular thing because again, the invincibility thinking, oh, आता काही होणार नाहीये, everything is absolutely fine, and I don't need any kind of contraception. No, you definitely need some kind of contraception, and I feel that barrier contraception is absolutely a no-no.
Okay.
No, it's a no. Oh, okay.
Do the dryness?
Barrier contraception is, of course, condoms, which we
Right.
what I feel is that because the thing is that she's having so much irregularity in her periods, right? Like I said, an ovulation which is like happening like in between the cycles like that, and suppose like it's the situation where kind of they are together and all that, and you don't have any means. Then what is going to happen? That is again one scenario I'm just telling you. But if she has the control with herself, it's absolutely fine. She can go in for like the normal combined oral pills, which are quite safe during that period. The
Okay.
best would be a intrauterine device or
Yeah.
COPD, which we normally call.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is like an excellent way. It's a non-hormonal as well as a hormonal. We usually do not recommend hormonal until unless there are certain conditions. But a non-hormonal device can go in 10 years. You're absolutely fine. Great. No
Okay.
worries. So yes,
Wonderful.
contraception is a must during the menopause period. And then when again she asks me, "Mata kiti kadi parayanta काय असं?" So again, I have to tell them that listen, you're still getting your periods. Come to me only when you say 12 months have gone. I haven't had a single spotting, nothing in between, and I've been absolutely period free. That is when menopause, then I can remove
Remove
it.
it.
Okay.
Got it.
Good to know.
Good to know. Okay.
I know.
So, coming back to you, Dr. Prajakta, how do we find out that we are going through a menopause phase or a woman is going through a menopausal phase?
Yeah, so when she is not having her periods for 12 consecutive months
Okay.
a year, okay, that we should just label as menopause, or she is menopausal. She has attained menopause. Now, this is a natural menopause which we're talking about, right? In cases where we have to remove the uterus, many reasons, right? Then that is something called as surgically induced menopause.
Right.
In that case, it will be a sudden onset, right?
Correct.
Where we are removing the uterus, and sometimes we preserve the ovaries, in some cases we don't. But any which ways, she is going to experience that.
Okay.
Right? So natural menopause is that natural transition, what we were talking about all this time, perimenopause and then the menopause. But in surgical menopause, we remove the uterus and she is going to be menopause.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When we were discussing about perimenopause, you mentioned it could be few months also, it could be few years also, like 5 to 6 years or more.
So, like
so,
the age pattern to perimenopause? No?
Yeah.
No.
Like when can it begin?
See, the average age of perimenopause now is 44.6 to be very precise in the Indian standards.
Okay.
In the outside counterparts, like say in the UK and the US, it's still like about like say 50, 49, 50. So is the age of menopause in women in India. The average is 47 years. But again, in the US, UK, it's 51. Yeah.
Why this
Yeah,
difference?
This is again related to our genes. Yeah, one. And second is, of course, because of the standard of living.
Living, lifestyle, everything, right?
Like, like they are much more
Yeah, less
developed
nutrient.
countries. And, we are looking at like India is a developing country. And, there has been always that difference. Like whenever we do statistics about like, early puberty, yeah. I'm just giving you an example. It's exactly like this, that the puberty in some African and American, Hispanic, those kind of cultures, they hit puberty earlier. Those girls, they hit puberty much earlier. And in their case, they cannot term it as early puberty. That is their age.
Okay.
Right? But for the Indian counterpart, when we say that, she's like the girl has had puberty, like at 8 years of age, that is early puberty for us, for the Indian counterpart.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, coming back to the perimenopause thing, 4 to 6 years is what we realize, right?
Right, that's right.
And after that, as you said, like for a good 12 months, if
Yes.
there are no periods, then
Yes.
it's like you've hit menopause, right? Now, again, during menopause, also, there are all kinds of symptoms a woman goes through, right?
Absolutely. So she's carrying all those perimenopausal
Huh.
symptoms into menopause, but then there are many other things which start happening.
Huh.
Of course, there are going to be those hot flushes and night sweats, and like I said, the mood instability. It starts increasing, definitely. But along with that, whatever amount of the irregular periods and all, that's absolutely gone. So at least she is kind of now, whatever that, oh, I don't have to go through the periods or the menses anymore. But then there are other things. Like, for example, the muscle aches, they start increasing, more joint pains are there. Then there is that typical thing of weight gain. Doctor, I'm putting on weight. Yes, you are menopausal, but you are not exercising. We have told you since perimenopause, start exercise.
No, Dr. Richa went.
I'm saying before menarche.
So, so weight gain and again the weight gain typically like how it appears, especially in Indian women, the central obesity is very typical.
Yeah.
Because later, when we talk about like some later things, it is not a very good thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, nahi, khate peete karke lagni chahiye. Yeah, that is all right. That is like you are looking healthy, but looking fat is not looking
Not looking healthy. Yeah.
So coming back to the symptoms of menopause, yes, we have all of this. Then we have night sweats, right? And because of the night sweats, we get a lot of sleep disturbances. Men can't sleep.
Lack of sleep. Yeah.
They tend to get up, in between the times and all of that. And then that leads to that one, again, big circle of not able to sleep. Then the next day it goes into a lot of irritability and
not able
mood
to
swings.
exercise.
Yeah, a lot of things just get affected. So that comes. Then again, another thing is excessive fatigue for no reason. Excessive fatigue steps in. Then furthermore the symptoms they increased, like I said, the perimenopause you still had a little bit of estrogen, so the libido was still there. And menopause,
Now with
absolute lack of interest, loss of libido. Actually, I would say loss of libido. The vaginal dryness, the vaginitis, and urethritis, if all these symptoms they carry into the menopause, but they are definitely much more pronounced.
Wow. And there's no treatment for it. You just allow the process to.
There's no need for this is spot treatments. Whatever is required.
I think that if is coming to me and I categorize it as that she's a menopausal lady, okay, and she's having moderate to severe symptoms. Okay, we can actually categorize and say that there is a scaling of how you see that what the symptoms are, how severe they are, and depending upon that, I would like to offer her this MHT or a hormonal therapy, menopausal hormonal therapy. That is it's called. And of course, I will tell her the benefits and the side effects of the same. And if she's willing, she can very well go for it.
Okay.
Because that is going to reduce her vasomotor symptoms, essentially, which are the hot flushes, night sweats, and to a certain extent, her irritability, her mood swings, the mood disorders. They reduce a lot with that. Also, it helps her with, like I said, her intimacy. That is also one thing. And rest of the women who say that, I am having some symptoms, but, maybe I am okay taking some Ayurvedic treatment or maybe some homeopathic or some other form of treatment, wherein I don't want to take any kind of medicines, but let me just do some lifestyle changes and all of that, and which is absolutely fine.
It's justified.
Right.
That is true for only people who are not having severe issues.
Severe issues, yeah.
They need help.
Case-to-case basis.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
kind of help they need, in what area they need it, and
Yes.
the doctor can, guide.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, no two women will have the same symptoms. They'll be like,
Yeah.
I mean, different symptoms, and that's why it makes them wonder, like, क्यों हो रहा है?
It makes them wonder. I'll tell you what, laughter is the best medicine.
Ah,
So, so many of my patients have formed groups amongst themselves and they laugh their symptoms out.
nice.
Oh my, because it's so ridiculous.
That's fine.
Because everything we go through is just so funnily ridiculous sometimes. You know? So I keep
Yeah.
telling my patients, why not laugh about it? Exactly. So it is important to laugh, talk about it and laugh it out.
Yeah, we
Literally
take life
laugh
too
it out.
seriously.
It's to not take it
Everything.
too seriously.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Eating also we take very seriously. Not exercising also very seriously.
One more thing I would like to just
Yeah.
pinpoint here is, in our, specifically in the Indian society, I feel that a lot of women, they have a thing for the hormonal therapy. They'll be like, acha, hormones lene hain. That kind of a thing.
Acha.
You say steroids lene hain.
Huh, exactly. So they have like some kind of preconceived notions about taking hormones.
Meaning reservations.
It's not thinking that, oh my God, hormones, why? So you have to actually sit down, like talk to them in a way that, these are the things, these are the benefits.
Right.
And of course, I am not going to prescribe you something which is contraindicated in you, obviously, right? But if you still feel that you do not want to go ahead with this hormonal therapy, let's just do some alternative therapies. But that block, which is like, hormones, ajuga gauge rahe hain. That is not the
That is not the case. Yeah, yeah. And coming back to the brain health, the mental health, Dr. Mansi, what would you say? I like the look.
Because there's so much happening. It is just so much happening. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and talk even about perimenopause a little bit, even though we are talking about menopause right now, because during menarche and puberty, how we were building things up,
Yeah.
the brain was building up. Now it is London Bridge is falling down. Literally, So I love that poem, So build it up with sticks and stones, ice cream cones, telephones, whatever it is. So it's literally the bridge is starting to kind of get really weak and collapse now. And if you keep putting heavy load on it, it is going to collapse even further. Okay. So don't forget the heavy load. Start building it up a little bit. So the lack of estrogen, so during menopause, the estrogen has fallen down suddenly. We still have certain levels of progesterone and other hormones that are supporting the brain a little bit. Progesterone is a nesting hormone, if you remember.
Yeah.
During that time, our literally brain connections start to break. There is no other word for it. Okay. Memory loss. I remember the word, but I can't think of the word right now. How many of us go through that?
Yeah.
We start confusing names with each other. I might call her something else. I might call her something. That's all.
True.
So literally our brain connections are starting to break during perimenopause itself, even a little bit before perimenopause also. Okay. Most of us do not use all of our brain every day. Okay. We are using all our senses.
Right.
And all our senses are going into our brain. But how much intellectual activity are we doing on a daily basis? Almost nil. Okay. So it is absolutely essential for women from the age of 30, 35 itself to start building up the brain. Okay. Crossword puzzles, Sudoku, all other puzzles. Just do it. You're not being a small child or any of that. Mechanical things like building 3D models, building. No, Legos can be 2D. You have to start building and thinking 3D also a little bit. So like I said, all these years the hormones were protecting us. Now we have to protect ourselves the same way you have to protect your brain. Okay. To a certain extent, brain fog, memory loss, irritability, all of that is part of the package, no doubt. But that package does not have to define you as a person.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I'll just tell you a little bit quick story about what I think my mom must have gone through. She passed away, unfortunately, 5 years ago. But now when I look back, now when I have this maturity and knowledge, when I look back, I realize that she went through a really bad perimenopause. It changed her as a person completely. She was a lot more irritable. She was a lot more emotionally labile, like crying at the drop of a hat. And we were small at that time. We used to look at her like, what is happening to her? Like, this is a person whom we have never seen cry, and now suddenly she's crying at the drop of a hat. because we were not educated or knowledgeable at that time, we dismissed her in a way. Okay. And we did not understand what that is happening. So that strained the relationship a little bit also for a long period of time. So all of this is happening. You have to realize what is happening to you. As a person like me, when I'm going through my menopause or perimenopause, I have to realize what is happening to me and I have to be aware of it so that I can make the other persons aware. I don't want relationships to get strained because of this, you know?
Yeah.
And that,
I picked up so much up until now. If you're going through a troubled time, the other guy now needs to step up and
step up and do it.
more.
That's true.
So that was one of the nicest things recently I had experienced was I was complaining to my mother-in-law. She's like my mother. I was complaining to my mother-in-law, ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, and she's like, हाँ, पूरे 5 साल ना बहुत खराब होते हैं. That's what she told me. But then when my husband visited his mom, she just made him aware that, you know what, the next 5-6 years for her are going to be very difficult. You have to be there to support her now. And they don't talk openly. They don't have a relationship where they talk about periods or any of that. None, absolutely.
But they have a way of giving out messages.
Yes. So she just gave that message. And since that particular month, I'm seeing a change in my own household. And it's become so much easier on me. So these are tiny, tiny things that make a huge difference, you know. And all of this, I believe, because I'm very verbal. About what is going on with me, but I'm verbal to a certain extent that they should also understand because we are all living as one unit in one house.
Right.
That is what it is. So yes, the mental changes are huge during perimenopause and menopause. Like Dr. Prajakta said, everything that happens in perimenopause, it literally gets amplified during menopause. You need the support of your people around you, the people who matter to you. You need their support absolutely. And like I said, your London Bridge is slightly on the collapsing phase. Any relationships that are a heavy load, we come to a point where, you know what, I don't want this anymore in my life. So why are grey divorces getting big and big now?
Yeah.
So it is all those lows.
20 years of marriage, 25 years of marriage.
So तब मुझे सहन करना होता था, अभी मुझसे सहन नहीं हो रहा है. And it's rightfully because her mental frame is very weak right now. So there is no need to try to make your mental framework so strong that you're still taking everything that you took 20, 30 years ago. I think I like to believe, and I keep telling my patients also, now is your time. Forget everybody else. Forget your responsibilities also.
But you know what, Nancy, I would just like to interrupt that at this particular point of time when you're counseling your patients for specifically when she's going through all these things, dealings, I think it should be a counseling with the partner.
With the partner. So my
Irrespective of whether she's with the husband or she's divorced, she's seeing someone, because see now life is totally different in a metro. We're not talking about say 15, 20 years back.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, so then I think there should be a counseling along with the partner because it is very important.
Not just the partner, I get the entire family together.
Of course.
So as a cardiac rehabilitation therapist, anyway, my first appointment is always with the family because the family has to be aware of what is happening with that patient. Similarly, even during such counseling cases, I first see the patient and then either with the partner or with the entire family because it is an entire unit that has to step up and support her.
Right.
That is the end of it. There is no other way out of it, you know.
Just it's there for the reproductive health and the mental health, but we're talking about menopause or we're talking about perimenopause, but there is also aging process. No? Aging process is also adding to this. So
Absolutely.
I would talk about it in the form of joints, let's say. So estrogen is now making your muscles osteopenic, which means that your muscles are getting brittle. They're not as strong as what they were. But age is also doing the same thing to it. So it is now 2x of what was happening to you.
Right.
If you want to protect it, then you have to, protect it with 4x. That this much is happening because of aging and that much is happening because of menopause, and now you have to cover it up. You have to give more for this and for that. So more effort needs to be put.
So, funnily enough, the one topic that nobody talks about, and I always counsel my patients during this time, is the loss of breasts. For a woman, her identity
Really?
and her comfort is her breasts. Okay, so either you're losing your breast in the process of menopause or for surgical reasons or for any reasons, it's a huge psychological setback. Of
Okay.
course, now there is plastic surgery, we have implants and all that stuff. But when you lose your breast to a very regular, normal menopause that's happening very slowly and steadily, it affects the woman tremendously. And she needs a lot of comfort from a counselor, I would say, not even from a family at this point, but from a counselor to help her understand that it is okay. It is part of the process, but it takes a lot out of a woman when she starts using her
I
breasts.
understand what you're talking about, but in this particular thing, when like patients they come and they like they kind of say that typical. They will never say that ki I'm using. She'll be like
But
very
they camouflage it. They completely camouflage it.
symptom, that kind of a thing. And I always say, then I would always like kind of like you said, the counseling one.
Right.
Second is exercise. Again, coming back to that, your pectoral muscles, like the breasts
Yeah,
are actually
yeah.
pectoral muscles, right? How you are doing with your entire body weight exercise, there are specific exercises for the
develop them,
pectoral
right.
muscles as well, right? So women will come with, acha, for bodybuilding. I said, no.
This is something I really need to address. I think
Yeah.
that estrogen is coming now. You're asking me to do strength training. You're asking me to take protein, sometimes protein supplements and creatine and all that. Won't that start looking like a man?
Muscles develop honge.
You know how much effort goes into looking like that? It's insane. You're never going to look
Yeah,
like
and
that.
women's body is not
It's not going to look
going
like
to look
that.
like that.
There are women bodybuilders, and the amount of effort they take is
Yeah, yeah,
Insane, yeah.
yeah.
So it's not going to be that. You are just going to look. If you want to see what
Yeah.
you're going to look, you're going to look like you're toned. That you're fit. Your movements are going to get easier. You're walking around. You're sitting and getting up. All that
Sitting cross-legged and getting up.
and getting
Tell
up.
me about it.
You know it so well.
All of that is going to get better.
It's not just that. Again, women do this all the time and never talk about it, looking at themselves naked in the mirror. Okay.
Ah, yeah.
Every time we look at ourselves in the mirror, we either feel good about ourselves or like, oh man, this needs to go, that needs to go. So it's like a visual check. Like tick, cross. That's all. That is also something I tell my patients all the time, that you have to keep a very positive thought pattern. Your body has gone through everything that it has gone through over the years. You have done a lot.
That dysmorphia is so set in. No?
Set in.
Many
So
women in their head.
Sets in.
It sets in puberty.
And then, it goes through that one again, like how we go through a transition, that puberty, and then, you get a thing, reproductive, whatever, then the pregnancy, postpartum. So it's like a kind of
And
thing
social
where-
media doesn't help anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they keep giving examples of perfect women, right? Over there all the time.
Even menarche to menopause,
Yeah.
how well does it help?
My mother was 80. Okay, तिचे आता ना थोडेसे दात पुढे यायला लागलेत पुढचे.
Right.
So she's like, so when we're clicking pictures, mom smile. नाही माझे दात दिसतात.
It's okay.
Like at 80 also she's so conscious.
80
about
दात
how-
आहेत तेच खूप झालं. I wish I retained my teeth at 80. I'll be so happy.
I should tell her.
Yeah, that's actually the way to look.
I know.
Oh yeah, she's pretty strong.
There is a
She's-
poster that says "Smile till you have your teeth." On teeth.
I'm very, when I look at my mom, I keep telling her, ki, look at other women and look at you. You're doing
Amazing.
everything by yourself.
Right, amazing.
Yeah. Keep moving. Keep
It's amazing. Yeah.
So, coming to you, your favorite subject.
Exercise.
Exercise, yes. Nutrition. What, how much can you emphasize about that?
A lot.
Yeah.
So nutrition is as or more important. Okay. Because
Yeah.
we at perimenopause, and we talked about this again and again. There are all sorts of changes happening. Your fat is increasing, your muscle mass is reducing, your bones are getting weaker. All this are things that your body makes, right? All this needs protein. Nothing can be made without protein. So protein has to be there. And in vegetarian Indian diet, protein is quite lacking.
Yeah.
So you need to find ways to add to it.
Right.
A katori of dal is not enough.
And even, I guess, Indians who say we are non-vegetarians, probably they're eating non-veg maybe once a week. So they're not technically non-vegetarians.
This. If you want to take in protein through food, eggs is a very good thing.
Also, in the Indian way, by the way, when you make the non-vegetarian food, don't you add excessive oil to it?
Yeah, but very easily you cannot. I mean,
That's the standard way, though. Excessive oil.
Another absolute big topic of discussion.
But that's whole different because
Yeah.
that you should or you can eat chicken or fish every day, and they're like looking at you like, you just told me I need to reduce weight, but you're telling me to eat chicken.
Chicken, right?
And with my own example, I will tell them how I'm cooking this much chicken in that much oil.
Right.
You don't have to make a curry every time. And even if you do, what can you put in it and what you can't. I mean, you have to literally tell them all of that, which I'm happy to do. So protein is one big thing. But then there are micronutrients. So there's calcium and there is magnesium and there is all sorts of vitamins that are I wouldn't say absent, but are not up to the mark.
Yeah.
So if you are advised any supplements, please take them. Okay. I don't know why, but people complain, अच्छा ये 5 गोली खानी है, तो क्या हुआ? खानी है तो खानी है. So you take
Yeah.
that.
And don't call them medicines. Call them
If
supplements.
This has been prescribed to you by your doctor, who has done a bunch of tests, who has realized that this is what is missing, and this is what is caused. The missing of these elements in your diet is why you're suffering.
Yeah.
Just take them, and they will tell you how to add to it through your diet. So if your calcium is low, your D3 is low, there are ways to add through it to your diet. But if they are dangerously low, then और एक चीज खाने से
You're not going to. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you need to get it up to a normal level, and then you can maintain it with your diet. So you can't get D3 by standing in the sun. Okay, वो नहीं होता है. आपको अगर deficiency है, it's not insufficiency. You have deficiency, you have to take a supplement, and that will be prescribed to you. I'm definitely not saying that you should take it by yourself. No.
True.
Your physician, your doctor should be giving you the supplements, but take them.
On the other hand, can you also tell them the story of hyper-awareness and rich man's syndrome?
What's that?
This is my own example.
Okay.
And because I'm advocating all this. Day and day.
So you have to practice what you practice.
And I've been doing this, and strangely enough, I did my test. Everything is normal. Everything is fine. Everything is up to the mark, except 2 things which are usually deficient in. I would say I consider all my patients to be deficient in vitamin D3 and vitamin B12.
B12, yeah.
Unless proven otherwise. Proof लाके तो मैं समझूंगी कि आपको ठीक है.
बिल्कुल.
I went, so I got my things done. My D3 is through the roof.
Oh.
My B12, so the range is 200 to 800. My B12 is like 2000. My D3 should be like less than 50. It is 65.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, now obviously.
And there are no symptoms that you feel something is wrong.
So I go to a friend of mine who's my physician, and I showed to him, and he's looking at me and said, how many supplements? And then, not many. I am. And I'm doing all the great diet. All of that. So he said, rich man syndrome. ये बंद कर दे. So now for the last 2 months I'm not.
That is what is happening on the flip side. People are so aware.
We're doing it.
So that creatine and collagen and this and that and that and that. So they are now getting rich man syndrome, by the way. Back on the other side. You know?
Yeah.
What I learned from this is that you should test so that you know which spectrum you are on, and then do accordingly.
Accordingly.
Yeah. Wow. This was a good point to make, actually.
I just suddenly remembered.
Yeah.
And this is another way of laughing at our own self.
I know, we laugh at ourselves all the time. Oh, how foolish we are.
Yeah. So we've discussed perimenopause, we've discussed menopause also now. Now coming to a very critical phase which many women go through, which is early menopause, okay, or premature menopause, right? Of course, very few women go through, but now I think the number is rising. Like I am one of them. So, why does that happen? How does that happen? Is it genetic or all kinds of questions?
So early menopause or premature menopause, as we call it, is when the menopause sets in at the age of 40. So when we're talking about, like we actually said that the age of menopause in India is somewhere around 47 years. And in the Western counterparts is 51. So when the menopause sets in at 40, it is called the premature menopause. Right? Now, one of the causes, natural causes, okay, for premature menopause is premature ovarian failure.
Okay.
So as we all know that when a girl child is born, she comes with a certain set of eggs for her throughout her life.
So those are getting.
So those are getting used up after puberty. Once the puberty sets in, the ovulation starts and everything, and then she goes through the cycles and all that. Till the end, we are not getting that extra supply of
Eggs.
or extra
Eggs,
anyway.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
born with them, right?
Correct.
So one of the reasons for POF or premature ovarian failure, it could be genetic.
Okay.
Hereditary. Like a woman, like who's going through POF, maybe her mother or her grandmother had it, then never was diagnosed. And then suddenly she comes to know that she started getting irregular periods, and suddenly the period stopped. And then she went to her gynec and said that, what is happening? Or maybe she thought that she's pregnant. That's a very common thing. Which,
Can I interrupt here for a minute? When you look at history, you look at grandmothers on both the sides or just maternal?
Only the maternal.
Only the maternal.
Right.
The father's mother is not.
No, it's not
But
correct.
we are sharing genes with her.
I know that, but specifically when we are talking about POF and all that, it is the maternal
Mother's
side.
side.
Including menopausal age, I think.
Yeah,
The menopausal
Yeah.
age is better.
That's what even I have read.
Yes.
It's on the mother's side.
Quite right. A part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So coming back to that, so then she comes typically and she says that I haven't had my periods for like so many months, and what is the problem? Then we do a battery of tests, and many a times, like even as a gynec, I might have done this mistake of not getting her hormone levels down, and that is when we come to know that, oh my god, she's having a POA, or her NHFSs are through the roof, right? So this is one cause which is very, like when you're talking about premature menopause, that is the natural cause, the ovarian failure. And the other, it could be, unfortunately, if she is going through some, some carcinomas in the body anyway, and she's taking chemo or chemotherapeutic drugs.
Oh, that can also lead.
That can also lead to the premature ovarian failure, because ultimately all these drugs and all that, it is a kind of like it shuts down the ovaries completely, right? So that is the thing. So why we are concerned about premature menopause, right? Now, because of the like I said, that there are a lot of tests to actually diagnose it, and that is why we find number of cases. Like you said, the incidence is not increasing. Maybe it was there, but because of the tests now, we are able to understand, right? That this is a case of premature menopause, right? So what are the problems related to this? Yeah, one and very important thing is the sudden loss of reproductive capability in the woman.
Surgical menopause.
The surgical menopause is there. Like I said that, I was talking about that when the uterus is removed, with or without the ovaries, then for any reason where she's like, say, less than 40 years of age or 40 years of age, and she has to unfortunately undergo a hysterectomy, then she's obviously she's menopausal already.
Yeah.
So that is premature again for her age,
Yeah.
right? Yes, coming back to what are the problems related to that. And like I said, that loss of reproductive capability, that sudden feeling of
It's a huge mental
it's
impact.
a huge mental impact for her. Many a times we find women who have delayed their pregnancies, because of a lot of things. Could be personal reasons, could be professional reasons and all that. And, they find themselves in this situation, They come with that hope sometimes to the clinic that, oh, I might be pregnant, but to actually find this out is not a very good feeling, and that brings about a big mental impact for her. Yeah. So then again, the symptoms of what we were talking about all this time, the perimenopause and menopause. Whenever premature menopause sets in, the symptoms, they come with a vigor.
They come with a bang, right? Yeah.
Like literally, like she might be like a normal, regular woman, not even experiencing PMS, let's say, and then suddenly all these things start setting in. It is very difficult for her to have a grip on herself. Physically, for one reason that, she has absolutely stopped getting her periods, because I'll tell you, for a woman psychologically, getting that monthly periods or that withdrawal or a bleeding is, I think, quite comforting.
Yeah. We take it for granted almost, right? Yeah.
And many, for example, what is the commonest cause why a woman or a girl or a lady consults a gynecologist? Periods जास्ती येत आहेत, कमी येत आहेत, किंवा येतच नाही. Nothing beyond that.
Got it. What about hormone therapy, which women are advised during this phase?
So premature ovarian failure, I definitely recommend the MHT or the menopausal hormone therapy. Let's not call it menopausal, let's call it hormone, because let's not label her as a menopausal thing, although she is, unfortunately. But yes, if we consider the age of menopause as, say, 47 in India, and if she's had her menopause at 40, I think it is but logical to give her that therapy till the natural age, right? And then we will tailor it according to her needs, right? We will absolutely see what are the contraindications, and then we'll see what best suits her, right? And then whatever required, therapies are available in the market, we'll definitely give. But yes, continue till that time, till the natural menopausal age. Yes.
Okay. So coming to you, Dr. Richa, we've discussed this in so many words earlier, but again, if you have to give women one simple solution, what would that be? What is good?
I can answer it for her. Can I? We both can answer. Exercise.
Yeah. So,
Menopause. The one thing actually I would exercise here. What I would say is be aware of your cardiac
Health. Yeah.
Because so if you have early menopause, the estrogen protecting your heart is now not working. So your heart is the same, let's say, as a 40-year-old man's, okay, which is at very high risk for various reasons, including your diet and your exercise and your lifestyle and your stress and everything. And what happens is that women's cardiac symptoms are very different from those of men.
Men.
Right? Yes, you and I are getting a heart attack. We are not going to get that filmy heart attack of chati pe haath rakh ke, my is hurting and all that. No, you might just feel consistent indigestion, literally. You might be heartburn.
Discomfort.
Pain in the back.
Discomfort.
In the back.
Or the jaw.
Or the jaw. And those symptoms are not even recognized. So
you might just sweat and call it a hot flush also. Yeah.
Is one thing. Taking active cardiovascular health care is another thing. I mean, besides the exercise. The exercise I cannot stress about.
Absolutely.
Just do it. But this is something that is not recognized in terms of symptoms, which is why it's more.
So cardiac care and even osteoporosis.
Osteoporosis again.
That hits you really bad, very fast.
Then you are at risk of fractures,
Yeah.
falls, for
Or backaches.
to heal as fast as you should. So again, your diet needs to be monitored. Your supplements, your calcium, your D3, all that needs to be monitored, and your protein. So diet, exercise, always.
Yes. And to you, Dr. Mansi, I'm not sure if this is done in India. Are there any support groups or so in India for women going through all these phases? Forget, premature menopause.
Right.
But are there any support?
Unfortunately, there is nothing. The Indian Menopause Society has, I think it's taken birth, just 10 years ago or slightly less than even 10 years.
Okay.
But like I keep keep saying again and again, it's difficult to make Indian women talk. You know, माझ्या आजीला जर बोलायची गरज नव्हती तर मला का गरज आहे. माझ्या आईने कधीच काही बोललं नाही, मी कशाला बोलू. So that is a thought process, you know. So it will still take a little bit of time, but at least now the awareness is getting built. Thanks to various platforms like Instagram and all, they are getting aware of what is happening around the world. There's a lot of content out there. But I say be a little bit careful about how you use the content from outside, because in India, our lives are different.
Yeah.
Our family structure is different.
Yeah.
Our nutrition is different. Our way of life is different. Everything is different. So it has to be specific to the country.
To the region. Yeah.
Specific to the region, more than the region, the country, not even within the country.
Somebody from the northeast is very different from what.
Very different, yeah.
So yeah.
So you
North, South, the food pattern.
everything. Thought patterns, food patterns, everything is different. So use the general knowledge that you get on Instagram from outside of India, but within India now it is time for us to start setting this up, and that's the reason why we three actually came together, and we just amalgamated like with such ease, because this is a topic of passion for all three of us. So hopefully more people will bring around such changes, and they'll talk a lot more. So my entire thing is just talk it out, talk about it.
One thing that she's been going on about for many years now is the tribe, which is very important.
Very important.
In fact, she had a group called Nancy's Tribe, and
My tribe of women. So
The WhatsApp group that you had
WhatsApp
formed, I was part
group.
of
So last year,
that was not for menopause, but it was about.
it was for women. So it's a very simple logic behind that. One woman's either her best friend or her arch enemy.
Yeah.
There is no need to be arch enemies. We are finally a group of sisterhood, and we are here for each other. That is what it is, you know. So find your tribe. Keep the men apart. Find your tribe.
That's what I mean. If you're all sailing in the same boat, then might as well
All go together.
Go
Yeah,
together.
go
and
together.
kind of help each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is why this platform we are actually I'm not saying promoting, but because there are so many treatments, so many therapies, so much of help for, like, say IVF is there for
all your fertile years. Yeah.
care for everything,
Yeah.
But when we're talking about puberty, first and foremost is a lot of times women ask pediatrician ke paas jana hai ki gynac ke paas jana hai?
Yeah, they don't.
So that is one question, right?
And
So
the other thing is, even our country, India, as a place, the fertile women are given a lot of respect.
Yeah.
Okay. The younger girls, even today, are given no nutrition at all. Well, because they're made to work. Right from when they can start working, they're made to work. In fact, I keep saying, forget work, focus on their nutrition, because that nutrition is what is going to carry them forward. And once you're done with your fertile years, again, that set of women who are done with all of this don't have too much respect in our society. Unfortunately,
yes.
it is true. They don't have respect because they are made to, आप अंदर जाओ, आप बाहर आके हमारे साथ ज़्यादा बोलो भी नहीं. Is the thought process? It has to change now. All of this has to change.
And it will.
And it will. Yes, absolutely it will.
On that note, thank you so much. It was wonderful having this conversation. My God.
Yeah.
I'm sure the audiences are going to enjoy a lot.
Thank you, Sarik.
listening.
And thank you for having us over. Thank you for encouraging us with this talk also.
It's fun that we could be just, chatting about
it.
without the cameras. And,
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is such a vast topic. So many things we could have discussed, but lack of time. But they should approach the right team of people to
Absolutely.
get their solutions and all that. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Sarika. Thank you.